comms department will put this stuff out. Used to have to count on the networks to kind of get a snippet here or a snippet there. Good stuff. Wayne Larrivee joins us now. Wayne's World brought to you by Steam Fitters Local 601. Learn more by visiting steam601.org and National Fire Sprinklers Association. Visit them at nfsa.org. Wayne, good morning, my friend. How are you?
Good morning, guys. You see, I've got the old cap on today, the Lombardi cap, because that game is kind of a throwback to the 60s and 70s in terms of run versus pass in the game plan.
Right. All the misdirections, the short handoffs, the little jet sweep action. Oh, it was beautiful, beautiful stuff. Which, look, you can design all that stuff, right, Wayne? You have to get the players willing to nose it out and execute it. And the offensive line got several holding calls early, and they were frustrating. However, as I looked at the game, I said, you know what? I like that because it said we're committed to running it, and we're going to be overly aggressive. If we get a penalty or two, fine, we'll dial it back a bit, but we're going to let the Colts front know we here, and we're going to be here all day.
And guys, one of my concerns going in was Indianapolis and its defense, and in particular the run defense, because they had been trampled by the Texans the week before, and I knew their point of emphasis all week was stopping the run. And for the Packers to do what they did, especially in the first quarter of that game, to set the tone for the whole day, over 100 yards rushing in the first quarter alone, I thought that was amazing execution, because I know the Colts were bound and determined to stop the run this week, and they weren't able to get it done.
I think it was the most rushing yards for the Packers in something like 25 years. Did I see that correctly, that stat? It was a big pile.
Yeah, I think you have to go back to the early 2000s to see that many rushing yards in a game for the Packers. It was amazing to watch.
Yeah. That said, you know how these games go. It's, they hinge oftentimes on certain plays. And the Dontavion Wicks touchdown, the out pass, was so perfect, but it had to be, because 1 foot the wrong direction, and it's a pick six. It's now 7-6 Indy, and we're sitting here going, see, I told you about Malik Willis, right? It would have been that narrative.
I mean, it's amazing to me that there are little things that happen in a football game that really change it one way or the other. And they can happen. They don't just happen in the last 2 minutes of the fourth quarter. You know what I mean? A game pivots. It can pivot in the first quarter alone. And, I thought that was a key point for the Packers there, to get up by 2 scores. And then they kind of sat on that 2-score edge most of the day.
Wayne, what was the most impressive thing? Was it the offense? Was it what the defense was able to do? Just in general, your takeaway from yesterday's afternoon's game?
I thought the defense did a great job, and that the Colts went 3 and out their first 3 possessions of the game. That was almost as important as the Packers effectively running the football. But I think you'd have to give credit to, again, the ground game and what they were able to do. And they did it with a lot of different looks. I mean, Adam Stenavich dialed up all kinds of different looks. He had Jaden Reed in the backfield. He had fully loaded pistols and shotguns and things you don't see that often. You often see a quarterback in the shotgun with a setback to his right or left, but you don't often see 2 guys back there with them, that kind of thing. And I thought the way they were able to execute it, the Colts knew it was coming. They knew the Packers were going to try to run the football, and yet the Packers were still able to do that. And that, to me, that showed great effectiveness. Now, that game, as good as the Packers were, that game could have really gotten out of hand had Josh Jacobs not lost the ball on the goal line going into the second quarter.
You bring up Josh Jacobs. Everybody was worried about when Aaron Jones left, what he meant to a locker room, the aura that Aaron Jones had. But Josh Jacobs has brought in a different kind of mentality to the locker room. You're closer to the team than anybody. Talk about and tell me why Josh Jacobs has been the right fit for this group.
Well, first off, let's talk about the non-football stuff that he brings to the locker room. He's a quality person, okay? And that's the first thing you notice about him. And that was really, Aaron Jones brought that in just huge amounts of that to the locker room, that chemistry. Jacobs is the same way. And his head coach with the Raiders, the one loss they had in free agency that he felt was crucial was that one.
Yeah.
Because he felt that Jacobs meant so much to the heart and soul of that football team on the offensive side. So he brings that to Green Bay. And now you've got a different kind of back. You don't hand the ball to Aaron Jones 32 times in a game.
You can't
do
do
that.
it.
Maybe over 2 weeks you do that. But this guy is a true bell cow kind of running back, and that's what he did. He carried the mail in that first half yesterday.
And he juked some laundry out on the field yesterday. He had a couple of awesome just plant the foot and go. And not that Aaron Jones couldn't do that, but doing it in the hole with contact and a bit more power is another dimension that's been fun to watch. Speaking of Jacobs, he has in the inside of his gloves, he has stitched "Who cares?" or a printout of "Who cares?" And he explained what that meant.
It's a little reminder.
These guys can get
And is that do you have those same gloves, same saying every week, or
same saying every week?
Okay.
And then besides that, my pastor sent me like a prayer, and we have like certain things we talk about each week is a little different, depending on the situation, depending on the week. But yeah, that's kind of how I go about it.
So in this week, is it who cares that I got to run 32 times?
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yep, make it happen. Who cares that the odds are against you? You don't got your starting quarterback. Who cares? Make it happen.
Yeah, they get the right people. This staff and this team gets the right people. That's wonderful to see.
No question about it. And he's been a big add to this football team. Sure, losing Aaron Jones, nobody wanted to see that happen, but it did. But you replaced him with a guy of the kind of character that Jacobs has and his ability, which is different, as we mentioned, than Aaron Jones. As you said, Zabe, he's a little more of a power guy. But, boy, he can still hit home runs. You know what I mean? It just I think this has been a great addition for the Packers, and especially with you look at the other running backs they have, and they're fairly young in that department. This guy brings that veteran leadership as well.
Yeah. All right. So what is our thinking as we already spin ahead to next Sunday in Tennessee? What is the general vibe do you sense on the availability possibility of one Jordan Love?
Yeah, you know what, guys, I get the feeling that he'll be given a chance to make it this week, and I think that they'll keep open that possibility. And people will say, well, they're just doing gamesmanship and everything else. And I don't think so. I think he made some progress from what I understand in his rehab last week and might have a legitimate shot of playing this week. But the game that everyone seems to have targeted from the get-go was the Minnesota game in 2 weeks. So we'll see how it goes this week. But at any rate, they'll have a little bit more in the game plan for Malik Willis in the passing game, I'm sure, this week coming up in Tennessee.
Do we think he was close? Was there a feeling like he was right on the edge, or that it was a little bit wishful thinking that he was never really going to play?
Well, I mean, that's hard for me to guess.
Okay, I didn't know the vibe. I didn't know the vibe. Like, he was really close. Did he warm up extensively before the game?
No, not that I saw.
Yeah.
No, I
was in
think he
street
was
clothes the
pretty
whole
much.
time.
They were just trying to give him a chance that if things went really well, maybe they could get him into the game. But I still think, again, knowing how Dr. McKenzie handles these players, that he'll always err on the side of
caution
for the player.
Wait, does a win though on Sunday, this past game, does that buy more time for Jordan Love? If you're the Green Bay Packers, do you say, hey, okay, we've won. We needed to split these two. All right, maybe he's back against Minnesota, but we got the win. Let's give Jordan an extra week here.
You know, I felt the same way. That was my feeling too after the game yesterday. I felt, well, you know, hey, people said they had to win at least one of the next 3 games, and they got the win. Okay, so you know, I'm thinking personally, I'm not talking for the team, but I think, yeah, it bought him another week, and let's make sure that when Jordan Love comes back, he's as close to 100% as he can be.
Have you ever called a puke ball game? Like,
boy, I didn't see that. You know, my binoculars were not on that close, but
it would have been hard to see because it was a real quick splash of vomit right before the snap.
Wow.
Which tells you these guys are pushing themselves. Very warm day. Second warmest day in Packer history at Lambeau?
Yes. Second warmest. My goodness.
Yeah. That's crazy.
What was the official high
temperature? It was the humidity. I mean, it was hot down there. And, you know, I thought that was the Packers. The Colts have a good defense. Okay. They really do. And I understand they've given up a lot of rushing yards these first 2 weeks.
Right.
But for the Packers to take that defense and wear them out in the first half of that game,
Yeah.
and I know the Colts came back. They're a good team. They're a game team. They made a game of it in the second half. But the Packers took a lot of starch out of that Indianapolis defense in the first half of that game with that ball control offense.
Yeah. All right. So what is there to mop up, at least from the effort that is still would be on the punch list going into Tennessee?
I think run defense. Indianapolis was able to run the ball for 140 yards on 18 rushing attempts, 7.8 yards per run. I understand Jonathan Taylor's a great back. He's one of the best backs in the league. 3 years ago, led the league in rushing. Okay. I understand that. But I think, what the Packers are going to look to shore up is that run defense a little bit as we get toward head on the road against Tennessee, because the Titans are going to try to run the football.
All right. Very good. Wayne, we look forward to talking to you on Friday. But as we say early on in the season, bag them, stuff them, keep her moving. Yes. And a win is a win, and it's a beautiful thing. 16-10, your final. It should have been 26-3, but who's counting? It's a win. That's all that matters.
That's right. Have a good one, guys.
All right. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Wayne.
Our conversation with Wayne Larrivee brought to you by Steam Fitters Local 601 and the National Fire Sprinklers Association. So let's look past Tennessee for a second.
Okay.
And let's look at Minnesota.
Okay.
They, for some reason, have the Niners number at their place. 8 in a row now. And they beat them again yesterday, despite Aaron Jones fumbling at the goal line. Fred Warner again with the flying punch out. And with Justin Jefferson going down, the 97-yard touchdown catch and run was even more impressive because Darnold threw it from 5 yards deep in his own end zone. And he traveled, according to Next Gen Stats, 127 total yards because he had to zigzag once he caught it. Have we mislabeled the Vikings as a slow boat to nowhere in the division? I'll hang up and listen to your answer off the air.
Can I answer that question after next week when they play Houston?
Okay.
You
don't think the Niners were enough of a litmus test of, hey, wait a minute, there might be more here than we think?
I chalk that up to a little bit of the NFL,
okay.
right? Like each week, at some point
it's a week-to-week league.
At some point you have a dud. Every team does. The Packers will have a dud somewhere where all of a sudden they lose to maybe like Jacksonville, and everyone's like, "What the heck? Jacksonville has not been playing good. How do you lose to them?" Okay, so maybe that's Minnesota or San Fran's dud. But if Minnesota beats Houston, now both of those are at home, but if they go beat San Fran, beat Houston, then you got to look at them and say, okay, they're for real. They're for real if they're able to go back-to-back San Fran, Houston wins.
Yeah. Be fun to watch. Lions lose. They get handled by Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers. That was a knockdown, drag-out game. Dan Campbell, once again, Dan Campbell.
Yeah.
Left them without timeouts and screwed the pooch at the end of the first half when they had an easy chip shot field goal. They got a false start penalty, 10-second runoff, and did not score. It was a tight game. It was a 3-point game down the stretch. Had chances at the end. He was apologetic, saying, I asked for improvement this week. I got it, but I cost him.
There's some tears there when he was saying that.
When you hire an Applebee's server to be your coach, it's going to be rough at times.
Cover your mouth.
Cover your mouth. Cover your mouth. I'm running around the timeouts.
They're going to know what we're doing.
And then Brian Dable, who's clearly on the Ozempic and has got Ozempic rage because he was seen slamming his headset to the ground, is such a maroon. Their kicker, Graham Gano, was on the injury report to start the week. He was as late as Saturday, had a groin injury. Groin injury, which for a kicker is a big deal. And then Austin Eckler breaks free on a kickoff, the dynamic kickoff, and he starts running after him, stupid, like a kicker. My hamstring. And he ends up being out of the game. And their punter missed 2 extra points, and they just said, okay, forget it. And they lose to a team that kicked not 1, not 2, not 3, 7 field goals. with a replacement kicker in Austin Siebert who had been on the couch as of Wednesday.
That's not good. It's not good.
Why is the NFL so popular, Zabe? Because you can't make any of this up. And it's every week. We've got 15 more glorious weeks of it. Coming up, Mike Keller will join us next. His thoughts on both I was heartened this morning to know that Brian Butch agreed with me, Mike Heller, on the PI call in the Chiefs game that it should not have been called. That's a let them play ball with the game on the line. And I just know you, being a strict constructionist, say if it's a foul in the first minute, it's a foul in the last minute.
You're both
right?
jabrozos for that. I mean,
jabrozos.
It is pass interference every day, all day, in every game that's ever been played. That's pass interference.
Then you better throw a flag on every play then, Mike. Go ahead.
No.
What do you mean no? There's a lot of pass interference in the back game that didn't get called. There's a lot of grabbing that. If you're going to do that, then call it every play.
So you settle down there right now, Mr. Butch. The thing is, there's hand fighting on throws all the time. That's not hand fighting. That's a receiver waiting to catch the ball and going up to catch it and getting hit 3 yards before the ball was there. That's a penalty. It's a penalty all day, every day. And you're talking about a different set of circumstances with hand fighting and receivers and DBs that they've decided to allow to be an element of the game. That element that we saw in that DPI, that's defensive pass interference. Matt Hasselbeck on late night last night with SBP says, we know that's pass interference, right? And they both nodded like, of course it is. 1,000% it's pass interference.
I think typically it's PI. I just don't think in that moment. Maybe it's my hatred.
So now that the game hangs,
I'm a
contextualist.
Yes, I am very much a contextualist.
Oh, come on.
You don't believe in contextual refereeing?
I believe that's pass interference on the first play of the game and the last play of the game.
All right. But do you believe that, say in basketball, that a foul call in a tie game or a 1-point game needs to be clear and overwhelming and not ticky-tack?
Well, I guess I would need to be in the circumstance, but in theory, yes, I do think you can call the game on a shot in the lane or a foul in the lane differently in the final moments of a game. But listen, this is not apples and apples.
I know, but
that defensive.
That's where I do agree with you, because you're talking to a basketball guy that, like, in the middle, like the last 30 seconds of the game, it's called differently. There's no fact,
and I'm fine with that. I want it called that way. I want it called different.
I agree.
Right, let me give you the context.
Game of basketball, that's the fact.
Let me give you the context that I think most readily applies to this. If you want to bring it to basketball, the 3-point shot and the ability to land, or the foul on a 3-point shot, that's a foul in the first 30 seconds, and it's a foul in the last 3 seconds. DPI to me is the same thing. It's clear and obvious that you fouled a guy on a 3-point shot if you didn't give him the area to land, or if you hit him on the 3-point shot, even if it happens with 0.8 of a second left in the game, you call that. In the lane, it's different. Where Butchie lived, or he was supposed to live, that was different.
Yeah.
But that DPI, that's 100%. Like, he doesn't give the referee even any discretion to not throw the flag.
The defender, who was a rookie, needed to stop, wait, back up to let Mr. Rashee Rice have room to back up and wait for him to jump for the ball, and then he could have made a play on the ball. Is that what he was supposed to do? His timing just needs
to be better. I don't know about if he's supposed to back up or pause or whatever. His timing was off. He was early.
Yeah. I'm not saying it wasn't a typical call for PI. It was. I just hate the Chiefs. I
think that's
cannot stand the Chiefs. And having to see Mahomes do this with his arms in my league, if you do this asking for a call, you immediately get a 15-yard penalty.
Do you think the back judge saw him hold his hands up before he threw the flag?
No, but
all you asked for, the problem with me in this conversation is, Mike, I know what you're saying, like that it makes sense. However, there's no consistency in it. Like,
because it's impossible, Brian. Because PI
made all the time. That call, you don't think
that call
made
that call was a pretty standard stock PI.
Yeah,
I still would not have called it, though, in that moment, because it's a bailout play as well. It's 4th and 16.
I don't care about whether it's a bailout
see,
play
all this goes into the soup. To me, it goes into the soup of, do they deserve this call? Was it close enough of a bang call?
I didn't even reply to your silliness when you used the still shot on the sideline with Mahomes in the Packers game. Because
what silliness is that?
Because you don't use still shots. Still shots are a cop-out. That you used a still pick.
That's
when
by the
Mahomes'
book.
feet are on the bounds.
So that was a by the book clean hit. So by the bookers,
show me the
you
video
and Armin
and then
others
argue the video. Don't show me the still pick. That's like
Well-
when you show a quarterback throwing the ball and the ball's coming out of his hands and you see a wide receiver open
No, it's
10
different.
yards to the right. And you
Totally
say,
different.
Why didn't he throw it there? That was
Totally different, Mike, because screenshot warriorism on open receivers is deceiving because the game moves fast and windows open and close.
On the screen
No, it's not.
Yes,
No, it's
you
not.
Did.
No, I'm going to tell you why it's different, okay? It's because the rule is you can hit running quarterbacks without your helmet, shoulder to shoulder, in bounds. Mahomes had 2 feet in bounds. It was shoulder to shoulder. It was a by the book, non-penalty. And you by the book, dweebs, you and Armin say, well, by the book, by the book, by the book. But sometimes the league goes against the book.
So dweeb is not the same as jabrozo. Jabrozo is a term of endearment. Dweeb is a term that you're making it personal. Now you're dweebing me when I was jabrozo with you.
I think
There's a
Jabrozo's
difference.
a little bit insulting. I don't know about you, Butchie. You got
Luddy,
called a
this is also where
Jabrozo
we
as well.
back up out of the conversation. Like, there's 2 of those. When we start talking paint, you just
I
do
think
his
I
thing, and then
think-
when Heller jumps on Mondays, you just
Okay.
go. boop,
Look,
boop,
the PI in the Chiefs game was a pretty stock variety. I didn't
Yeah.
expect them to not call it. I'm sick of the Chiefs getting it. Did you
Go
see the
on that
PI?
island. Yeah.
Did you see the PI that Devontae got in the end zone in the Raven
Yeah,
game?
I didn't see enough, obviously, being at Lambeau.
Okay.
And
I know you
focusing
probably
on
didn't see that.
Yeah.
You'll see that play. I don't know if you
Yeah.
guys saw it. It was a terrible call that went against the Ravens at home,
It was terrible.
where Devontae wasn't even looking at the ball. He was playing defense on the DB who was trying to reach around him and batted the ball away. And they just go, that's a penalty in the end zone. It basically was the game-winning call.
Yeah. Yeah.
So PIs are tough. They are an
Yep.
ocean of gray. We'll leave it at that. Let's talk about the glorious Packer win. What did you love most about Sunday at Lambeau?
Matt LaFleur and Josh Jacobs. Those 2 storylines are fantastic. Matt LaFleur, if anybody questioned his higher echelon ability as a head coach in the NFL, yesterday helped move in the other direction where you can say, yeah, dude's pretty good. They have had historically difficult times winning without their starting quarterback. Obviously, when Favre never left, but when Aaron Rodgers went down, the Packers have not won. That was an important win. I thought it was more important than this Sunday's game in Tennessee. So that, and then Josh Jacobs is a horse. Those 32 carries, he's had now 3 30-carry games in his NFL career. That was a monster performance by Josh Jacobs and the offensive line, who took it upon themselves. I think LaFleur said that they didn't have a very good practice on Wednesday, the line. And he went to them and said, this game is going to be won by your room, you guys. And offensive linemen are different. You challenge them that way, and that group came together and they took care of the day. And then obviously you left some points on the board that made it an opportunity at the end with a field goal and a fumble going into the end zone. But that's a heck of a win, a good win. And Malik Willis he did everything you wanted him to do.
And
he did
nothing
everything
more.
you wanted him to do. Yep. Really good.
And he knew when to not throw a puke ball. You can't coach that.
Yeah.
Can't coach, hey, there's puke on the ball, don't throw it. Just run it.
Josh didn't think, I was there in front of his locker talking to him when he was talking about it. He didn't think he got the ball. But then I went into the presser and LaFleur said, why didn't we throw it on 3rd down? Because you can't throw a vomit ball.
Pretty good, by the way. Like,
he could have turned his head like,
Hey,
oh, crap, I'm about to puke. It's count on 2. And then snap it. That's spray. The spray is going to go everywhere.
But it's a great response by Malik by saying, why didn't you throw it? Coach asked you a question. Normally, coach are used to excuses. Yeah. Well, I didn't see this or I wasn't comfortable. Okay, well, you got to make the play. But to hit him with Josh threw up on the ball. There's no comeback to that. The coach cannot get mad at you in that situation. No matter what the film shows you, you're good. That's an all-time pass. You're good to go. No, it's good.
Oh, okay. No.
There's deflection.
Good thing he didn't have a visor on, because who knows? That could have been real bad.
So I'm watching Mike's wonderful post-game rap from Camp Randall, and it's just so well delivered. I don't know how you do it. You have a teleprompter there. You have a key grip. You got a lighting person. Looks like a pro shot. And all I do is I give him the compliment. That was a great rap. what mics are you using? Are you using a wireless lav? It sounds so clean.
I
Of course,
didn't know if
that's-
you were getting to that. It doesn't sound good enough. What are you using for audio? So I didn't even question it. But yeah,
no, it
just
sounded really
earbuds.
good. And I'm
Yeah.
thinking to myself, that's a really clean sound. So you said you do those with just your AirPods.
Yeah, these.
Wow.
They're pretty good.
Stuff.
Same thing yesterday in Green Bay. Did you check that one out? Not the content necessarily, but the lighting on that. It's you know,
Glorious.
I want to save that one for and look back at it in December and go,
yeah,
it looked like this back
the
in
late
September.
afternoon sun at Lambeau
It was the
Field.
golden hour. It was
Golden
pre-golden hour, but in the stadium it was golden hour.
Well, at 4, it would have been about 4:00 Central Time. Yeah, that's beautiful. That's right. Yeah,
well,
it
you
could start now earlier and earlier.
It does. You talked about it though, Zabe. I gotta ask Mike this question because this is my biggest frustration as a Badger fan. Right? Who is this football team?
Yeah, they
what
don't.
Right? Like that's just.
They're
I'm
missing
okay
an
if you're
identity,
struggling
but-
if you know who you are, because at least there's a. I don't want to say at least there's a plan.
Okay,
but at
so
least
let me
there's a
add this.
vision.
People are going to think I'm spinning. It's hard to have an identity when you're playing Alabama. Okay, so but I would go back to the
What
first
was
two
the
games and
identity of
say-
the first two games?
That's what I was just getting there. I would
Yeah,
go back to
like-
the first two games and say you didn't establish in the first two either. So I don't know who you are. I think the idea of this team getting to bowl eligibility is a really fair question now this year, because I look at the schedule and go, where are they getting wins? I will count Purdue at home as a win. I will tentatively count Minnesota at home as a win. That gets you to 4. You have a road trip that takes you to Rutgers and Northwestern. I would think that they would get one of those. That's 5. I don't know where 6 is. The program right now is not in a very good position, but I would caution this. If you're going to judge the program on where it is after 3 weeks in year 2, please just hold back. Just, hold until at least this season is done. And now you can give a very critical look as to who they are and what they are. And if it doesn't begin to change in 2025 or make a fairly rapid change in 2025, now you've got issues. The issues aren't today, but the yellow flag is up to say, hey, now there's a cautious view here of what we are and what we're not.
That's my thing. Like, that's my biggest question is Bo, when he took over the team, and I go obviously basketball, but like Bo knew who he was. And like this is, it doesn't matter the talent. Like, this is what we're going to do.
Yep.
I'll figure out talent and everything else later, but I know what I do and I know it wins. And I don't care who's put in those positions.
You guys all know this. On a Monday, the day after a Packers game, the Badgers are going to get buried in the conversation. I'll go there probably a little deeper than the rest of the shows throughout the day.
We talked a good amount at it at 7, because it was a big deal.
Yeah, but it is a big deal. And Saturday was an opportunity game, and one that a lot of people had spent a lot of time and a lot of energy focusing on, and it was no good, period.
And Mike, it wasn't good because of this. Like, to me, the reason I'm asking so many questions about who are they and what are they, not talent-wise. Like, Alabama had better players. That was very obvious early on in the game. They were faster, they were quicker. That's fine. We get where the landscape of college sports are. I understand that they're going to have better players because they can pay more for them right now. But just because you have better players doesn't mean that you necessarily aren't in game. Like, but you had 2 fumbles. You missed a field goal. You 4th and 1 and you go from shotgun. Like, that you can't have if you're not as talented as other teams. And that, like, those discipline, making those mistakes, like,
I'll defend
that's unacceptable to me, right?
Thing.
You know
Alabama also on 4th and 1 goes from
for
shotgun.
Sure. And I'm just saying 4th and 1, you don't get it, right? It's still a turnover and down. Either way you look at that, you can defend that. You can't defend the result. It's still a turnover. Then it's 3 turnovers, right? Like 2 fumbles, 1 4th down, 3 turnovers. You can't do that. That's never been who a Wisconsin team has been, is to have that lack of discipline, I guess.
Yeah, Tom Oates, who has done this for a long time as a columnist, asked the question on social media after the game at some point over the weekend. He said, what are they good at? Asking about Wisconsin football into year 2 of Luke Fickell. What are they good at? And right
and that
now,
led to the
after that
snarky
game,
comments. Though.
I mean, the
like,
answer is going to be nothing, right? I mean,
they
Well,
Oatsy,
what
I
are
love
they
you,
good
Oatsy,
at?
but you knew what you were putting out there.
What are
What
the give me the snark, Butchie? What are the snark comments on what they're good at?
Oh, wearing a team vest. That's what they're good at because Luke wears a vest with team on the back.
TEAM.
Just dumb stuff like that. And I was like, come on, fans, be better. Like, I get it.
On the field, 3 games in, it's hard to
Yes.
find what they've been good at.
And
because 3 games in, they really haven't been good at anything.
I alerted you guys to the fact that Florida State is now 0-3.
Yeah.
And Mike Norvell is stammering through his post-game pressers because he has no idea what to say. Billy Napier got his doors blown off again. They're 1-2, but they've lost 4 straight at the Swamp. I remarked to a buddy on Saturday, I go, oh, man, Jimbo Fisher and Urban Meyer, we never had it so good back in the day at Florida. Now look at them. These 2 iconic programs in the dumpster right now. This is college football, Mike. There is a churn, and the cycle of panic is getting faster and faster. There aren't enough new hot coaches to go throw Billy Napier out on his head and get the next guy.
Yeah. And they're spending so much money on NIL and transfer portal stuff right now that coach buyouts, even though they're incentivized to go there when teams and rosters fail.
Yeah.
Boy, the money on the conceptual money on buyouts is extraordinary. So
it's insane.
I don't know how you live in this world of college athletics. If you're trying to be the team that escalates who they are to be in the higher echelon right now.
My only thing is I guess I'm used to discipline, right? Like in what you saw against Alabama, that was what was frustrating. And I get it, but like that's the standard. We're not going to beat ourselves,
by
right?
the way. I mean, you go back to the Colorado home in Barry's early years when they had tried to establish and they had won a Rose Bowl and they got embarrassed twice, both in Madison and in Boulder, and it wasn't competitive.
Yeah. Now I'll say this too, like the discipline side of it, that's what I want to see improvement in, Mike. Like everyone's talking about this bowl and this. No, I just want to see a team that is hard-nosed, disciplined, a lot like what Luke is. You want to take on the identity of coach. We know Luke. We talked Luke all last year. He's a hard-nosed, no-nonsense guy that like just loves football. That's what I want to see. And I just saw a lot of mistakes on Saturday. That's all.
But you got drunk on Friday.
I heard that. Yeah. Finished at Ruth's.
I did.
Yeah.
Didn't know what bar he was at with a band.
No, it was right it down in Middleton somewhere. It was pretty good though.
Yeah. What was it called?
Brew House.
Oh.
Some brew house.
Okay. It's a brew
What's
house.
down there?
There you go.
I knew gave the phone to the Uber guy. Said, "Hey, take me here."
Atta baby.
He took me there.
Mikey, we might have a few this February at Sunburn Bowl 6.